I start, quick disclaimer. I'm on my front porch. I don't think I've ever shot a video like this on my front porch. I've done some workout stuff in the backyard, but so I can't imagine how many distractions are going to be. People driving by, and we live very close to an airport, so you're probably going to hear a lot of planes. So I apologize in advance, but thank you for tuning in to Poms on Fire. I'm Leslie. If you don't know me, hello and welcome. This video is, I don't really know how to describe it. It's heavy but light at the same time. It's light for me because it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal, but in this political climate that we're in 2018, it's probably pretty heavy for some people. I actually planned to do a different video. Had been planning it for about a week, and then what changed that is last night I was on YouTube, and as so often happens, go down the little rabbit hole of YouTube videos, and I ended up on a video that wasn't, the subject matter wasn't anything that I hadn't seen before, but it was over or about the Loving couple, Richard and Mildred Loving. And Scott and I had seen that movie, and I knew about that couple because obviously I am a black woman married to a white man, so that's definitely something that rings home for us. And so we had to go see it and loved it. It was a great movie. Can't imagine that being my life. So if you haven't seen it, you should definitely take the time to see it. I think it's very worthwhile. And it's amazing to think that that even happened, but maybe not so much now. May seem a little easier for it to happen. So anyway, they had a movie out, but then they've had different documentaries. I've seen documentaries on like PBS and other documentaries, but for some reason this one I had not seen, and it was about an hour, 20 minutes, and I watched the whole thing, but it was like step by step going through the process and their kids, and just a lot of footage that I had not seen before. So I found it very interesting, and again, my heart just goes out to those people because they were just, you know, average Joes trying to live their life, but a lot of people had a problem with it. If you don't know anything about the Loving couple, you can read about it. I'll give you the synopsis, or the little short version is Richard was a white man and Mildred was half black and half Native American, and they got married, as a lot of people do, and then they were arrested because of, back then there were misogynistic laws. So I have a hard time saying that. Since shooting this video, I have learned how to speak again. Anti-miscegenation. Because there's so many different reasons, but anyway, they didn't realize that they violated them because they went to a different state, got married, and then came back. Well, didn't go state, didn't cross over. So long story short, it follows them, you know, getting help, getting kicked out, getting arrested, sneaking around, you know, to see each other. During this time, they had 3 kids, and then they ended up getting some advice to contact Bobby Kennedy, and he directed them to the ACLU, which did help them. Long story short, they ended up changing, after going to the Supreme Court, they had to change these laws, which are ridiculous. And so, to explain what the laws were, they were to prevent race mixing, and they were old slavery laws. I mean, it's so silly, but basically, I guess I'll hit the high points. In slavery, okay, so it's slavery and then after slavery. Okay, black people were not considered people. They were considered property for a long, long time. And then then they were considered people, but not full people. They were considered 3/5 of a person, which, whatever, how they came to that number. So they were either not considered people or property, or 3/5 of a person. Okay, so basically what all that comes down to is you don't get to vote, or your vote doesn't count as much. It always comes back to voting. So always make sure you vote, very important now. And so these laws stayed on the books for a long, long time. And the reason it was such a big deal to some states is because when you marry somebody, so Scott and I get married back in that day, and he passes away. Okay, he already probably owned property, being a white man. Well, that property then comes to me. That I inherit that property. Well, that's crazy because property can't own property. 3/5 of a man can't own property. So to prevent that from happening, they continued this process, or this law. They kind of were like, no, we're not going to change it because we don't want things to change. That was really what it was about. I really looked into it for obvious reasons because I wanted to know what the point was. So, stepping away from that for a minute, I like to learn. I like to stretch my mind. I don't like to have, just this kind of knowledge. I want my knowledge to always be increasing, whether it's dance, whether it's reading, whether it's meditation, whether it's working out. I would like to learn. I think that's how we get better, is by knowledge and learning and pushing our boundaries. And I don't want to be the same person I was 10 years ago, especially in my mind thinking, I always push myself in that way. And I don't know if that's just something that my parents taught me, or I don't know. So I don't really understand how people get stuck in a way of thinking without thinking, okay, does this make sense, or does this fly with me, or they just kind of go along. Anyway, I digress. Back to the story. So let's talk about racism. And racism is, the short version, my version, is the belief that some race or group is superior and another race or group is inferior. Okay, that's ultimately what that means. From that you can gather that if I believe this group to be superior, or let's say inferior, that means that I automatically win everything because I'm superior. Or all the problems in my life, I can connect to that inferior race because I'm superior. All the problems of the world, I can connect to that person or that group of people. If I lose my job and I can't find another one, I will always find a way to bring it back to that group of people, because I've already taught my brain that I'm better than them. So if they have a job and I don't, there must be something wrong. Or, my wife leaves me. Everything will be able to be contributed to that. That's the whole point of racism. I mean, that's it. So let's say that's how you live your life. Good for you. I'm not here to tell you can't. But at some point, you have to realize, and I believe that people do at some point realize, whether they say it or not, that you are connecting your value, your core value, your power to the group that is inferior. Like, let me say it again. You, the superior people, are connecting your value to the inferior people. Let that sit for a second. Simmer. Okay. Back to the video. Okay, so you're essentially giving your power to supposedly the group that's beneath you, which when my brain tries to process that, it's like an animal, a dog chasing its tail, just over and over and over. It's funny, but it's a dog chasing its tail, and that's kind of what makes me think of. And it just doesn't make sense to me. This is the person that I am. My parents raised me to be this way. I have lived my life on the side of Black people. Not that we pick sides, but you know what I mean? I don't think that I've been intentionally racist toward a group of people. Of course I have racist thoughts. We all can, no matter who you are. And to say you don't was a lie, because that's just how we are. That's nature. But I've always sort of been on this side. And recently, which is what this video is all about, I don't know why, but it was, I don't remember if it was as I was going to sleep. I think it was as I was going to sleep. I had this sort of clear moment of, okay, so I look at things, I see what racism does to people, they're being, whether it's discriminated against or whatever. I mean, we could do a whole video on that, what that's like. But I've lived in that sort of bubble because that is my bubble. But never in my life have I considered the other part of it. I always looked at the negative parts of where if somebody's being racist toward you. I've thought of that. I know what that's like. But I've never thought of what racism does to the racists. And think about it for a second. I know it sounds weird to kind of, feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I just never considered. Okay, pretend like you're a racist person and you've grown up in that world. You've lived your life. Your entire, oh my gosh, kitty cat. Your entire existence is wrapped up into believing these group of people are bad or not worthy or not as intelligent or whatever. And then one day you wake up and you have to get to this point because it's basically it's believing in nothing. It's a farce. It's not real. It's invisible. But you give it power, you give it energy, and then you wake up and go, okay, so put yourself just for a second of what that's like to wake up after 80 years and realize that you have blamed the invisible for all your problems. Your wife left you, you lost your job, your kids hate you, or whatever the case may be. Those are all things that you ultimately are in control of. And what I don't understand is why people don't understand that there has to be a connection in a racist environment. If you are a racist, you are agreeing subconsciously, you are making a pact with that other group of people. Okay, and stay with me for a minute. And then if that people go away or disappears or whatever, how do you feel superior? Like what? So your entire existence, your entire belief system, your entire core existence and power is based on that other group of people. So ultimately, if that other group of people wasn't there, you cease to exist. You are nothing. So black people or brown people make you who you are. and I just think it was such a profound moment for me because I never considered what that would feel like. And I imagine, and I don't know anybody that's been on one side and then not, but I would imagine that that is the heaviest feeling on your heart, on your spirit, to know that all that self-hate and blame and negative energy and hatefulness was all coming to you because it wasn't going toward anything. It was being absorbed. It was coming back on you and on your heart. So, I felt good in that moment because I was like, okay, I'm stretching my thoughts. I'm not just stuck where I am. And that's just gotta be a sad, sad place to be and to wake up and be in. And which also brings me to, that's one of my fears in life, is to get to my deathbed or whatever and I regret not doing something, and for me it's mostly, if I was wrong, I should apologize, or I told people that I love them, whatever the case may be. And I always try to do those things daily, no matter how hard it is. And so I would think that would be the hardest thing to deal with right before you close your eyes and meet your maker, whoever you believe is that your higher being, with that on your heart. So I just found that very interesting. And if anybody has been in that situation or knows someone that's been in that situation, I would love to get their viewpoint on what that feels like. I can't even imagine the pain and how you resolve that to climb yourself back up. If you say you don't pass away and it's not too late, how do you resolve that energy and then build yourself back up to be a decent person? Anyway, just wanted to share that. And sometimes I wonder why I do these videos, and I always come back to whenever you're struggling with something, whenever it's hard or you feel lost, I always remember hupomone. And I don't think I've ever explained that on video. Hupomone, I can spell it for you. It's very unique name. It's Greek, and I learned it in college, and I would never forget. The professor said it, and I was looking down writing notes, and my head popped up, and I was like, what is that beautiful word? I didn't know what it meant. I just thought it sounded so cool. So he wrote it, And I just thought it was beautiful. And then he explained it, and it was, you know, count it all joy. No matter your trial, no matter your situation, remain steadfast and count it all joy. Be happy and know that it's, you know, it's gonna be okay. And you know what, it always is. You know, we may not like it, but it's always gonna be okay. So I guess everything kind of comes back to that. And I feel like when you learn something, you should teach it or share it or pass it along. Otherwise, you know, what's the point? Because we all are connected on some level. We are not the same, obviously, but we're all humans. We're all of the earth. We're all born, we all die, and we all bleed. And so I think that that's important to honor that and recognize that, especially this day and age when I'm just not even gonna start, because I will go for days talking about this stuff. Maybe another video. The video I was gonna make was about social media and politics and all that, and how I resolve that personally, but maybe in the future. But I hope you are having a great day, and just remember, hoop on money, count it all joy, and know that it's a process, and you remain steadfast and stay humble and keep being you. Thanks for visiting Poms on Fire, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodaloo. Hupomone is Greek in origin.